Well, that's a morning to wake up to. Although if the sun was a bit higher, I'd probably feel a bit more happy. Absolutely lovely out there. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it for a while before I make a coffee though. Well, good morning everybody from overlooking the Clyde. It's breakfast time. My milk's gone off, so I had a bit of coffee, but I've made myself some porridge, especially as we're in Scotland, and I'm going to grind on a bit of sea salt. Okay, it'll be out of shot, but you'll have to take my word for it, because the Scottish, they put salt on their porridge, and the Romans built a wall specifically to stop the Scottish people going, you're a pansy, you put sugar on your coffee, on your porridge, you've got to have salt, or you have salt on your porridge, and stuff. So that's why they built Hadrian's Wall. Now, the thing is, as any Scotsman will tell you, or Scots lady, Scots child, anybody, any jock will tell you, you have to have salt on your porridge, because it makes them look hard, right? Like drinking 100 pints of McEwan's Export, or feeding iron brew to their children so they go orange, dressing all their men in skirts with no trousers in the snow until their cairngorms rattle, you know. So salt on the porridge, what's it like? Very Scottish. Well, I can't complain about where I stayed last night, but if I'd come a couple of 100 yards down, there's a bin there, and this just opens up in front of me, and this is a larger parking area, more off the road. Look at that. Well, it's bad enough looking old, fat and grey with all this beard and hair growth and fluffy, but now that I'm in Scotland I keep getting mistaken for Billy Connolly, and that's really not the right look for me. So I decided, that's it, when in Scotland, go Scottish, don't be Billy Connolly, be renting from Train Spotting. Gone and got myself a hair clipper, so that's all going to come off at some point later today, so that's a highlight to look for, isn't it? Well, this is Gourock train station. Horrible modern place, no character to it. There's the old buffer stops there. They've at least got a bit of something to them. Now, why am I in Gourock? Well, as you remember the other day, I left Hordern midday. So, reading from the War Diary, May the 27th, special train conveying Regimental Headquarters 254 and half 255 Heavy AA batteries left Hordern, County Durham, 0230 hours. Arrived Gourock 11:30 hours and embarked on HMT H12 Aquitania under command of OC troops Lieutenant Colonel Sir Charles Grattan Bellew, MC KRRC. So this is a train station where my grandfather stopped travelling around the UK and got ready to crack on with the war. Well, even better, I've come in here and it's shown a signboard, the Clyde, Gourock Station and Pier, wartime history. So this is hopefully going to tell me everything I want to know. But look at it, this is kind of how it would have looked when my grandfather arrived. Between 11th May 1942 and 31st December 1944, the number of American soldiers and airmen disembarked on the Clyde was 1,317,089. The first steps on the liberation of Europe were made at Gourock and Greenock. They were the busiest and cosmopolitan ports in the world at that time. Well, this would have been it, the end of the line. Gourock Station, off the train, along the platform concourse, out onto the jetty, and off in one of the tenders to where the Aquitania was waiting at anchor. On the 31st of May 1942, the War Diary records: passed out of Clyde in convoy, weighing anchor at 18:30 hours. The Clock Lighthouse is where the Clyde anti-submarine boom was secured. This had to be open to allow shipping through. The records for convoy WS-19PQ record: the convoy has been routed as in Admiralty message 1855B/26/5. The first ship of the Clyde portion will pass the boom at 1900B 31st May in order to rendezvous with the Liverpool portion 0600B 1st June in position 270 degrees oversay 6 minutes. Speed of advance to the rendezvous is 10 knots, thence 13 knots. So passing through here, they were finally on their way. I'm even watching fish in this little rock pool. There's a little goby there on that rock, see him? And there's a couple of small fish down here zooming around. I think they could be really small pollock or cod. And yes, I'm taking the opportunity to bathe my feet once again and bring some relief to my ankle amongst the limpets and barnacles and seaweed of the Clyde. I was starting to feel quite drowsy driving. It's midday, so I stopped, made myself a cheese and tomato stotty, and remembered that because my milk had gone off, I hadn't had a coffee yet. So I pulled over. If you look around there, that's Loch Lomond. We'll go have a look in a minute. It does look lovely there. Tempted to jump in and have a swim, but that'd just be a bit stupid. Well, I've just had my break. Now I'm just driving along the shores of Loch Lomond, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's quite a few people swimming, pulling in on the side of the road, just jumping in. There's little beaches here and there. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful day. That would certainly cool me down a lot, but everything would be wet then. So I'm going to crack on because I've got somewhere to be. I've got plenty of time, but let's just wait. I think it's going to open up around this bend so you can get a better idea without the trees of what I'm seeing. Today's journey is just beautiful. I mean, Scotland is really stunning. It really is. I'm on the road to Fort William, and I thought I'd stop and show you guys this. I mean, who needs to spend all that money going to New Zealand when you can just come to Scotland in the summer? You should see the size of some of these hills. You certainly wouldn't want to be walking up them in this time of year. Not in daytime anyway. This is the Sennen Cove Valley viewpoint. Doesn't even need any words from me, does it? Into the valleys, I can't remember the words, but I can remember the rest of the tune. Blah 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 blah. So I'm driving on the road towards Fort William, and I thought to myself, that looks really familiar. Sure enough, it is. And this is Loch Leven, and in front of you are the Burial Islands. Now, interestingly enough, I've been here before. So why was I actually up here, having never holidayed in Scotland and only been up a couple of 3 times, usually on delivery trips? Well, I was doing some filming with the Gadget Show. Had a fantastic time, sat on that island a bit, did a bit of fishing, and I taught Susie and Otis to paddle. Now, how cool is that? I'm a bit annoyed. Angry face. So, The sat-nav has routed me all the way from Gourock, right, 130 miles ago, right, via Glencoe, etc., and past where I've been, and Loch Leven and that. I'll come around Loch Leven, and it's like, yeah, got to go over a ferry. Yeah, right, sorry, a ferry. I put in travelling in a vehicle. No, ferry, 13 quid. No, says I, that ain't happening. So I think, right, okay, right, if I go via Fort William, which I've already sort of like been towards, right, which kind of turned off 4 miles ago, yeah, it still says go via the ferries. Then I've got to put in some other place, Glen Miller or something, and it says, okay, you can do that, and that's going to add on like loads of time and loads of miles. I don't know, 30, 40, 50 miles, something stupid like that, an hour or two or whatever. It's like, what, you're having a laugh, mate? But yeah, that's what I'm doing. But they could have given me the option and said earlier, this includes going on a bleeding boat. I didn't know. I'd have said, excuse me, no thanks, I don't want to go on a boat, thank you. I worked on boats for a long time. I've got my own boat on the bloody roof. It's like, no! So now, I'm going to be there a lot later. And a lot poorer. But not as poor as if I take the ferry. Scottish bastards. I've just stopped at Glenfinnan, and that's the viaduct, apparently. I'm standing here on the shores of Loch Speen. I've just had my feet in there and it's lovely and warm. Oh, shit, there's a horsefly on my arm. There's a little ferry coming in, and behind me over here is a monument, the Glenfinnan Monument. This commemorates the 1745 Jacobite Rising, where there was a rebellion and a bunch of hardy Scots decided to put a king back on the English throne and pledged allegiance to him, a Stuart king, I believe. I've forgotten now. You can Google it. It's probably quite a good story if you're interested. And that viaduct over there that I mentioned earlier, that was in Harry Potter film. Hogwarts Express went over it. If I'd taken that ferry, I'd have missed all of this. It's absolutely stunning. The countryside is just gorgeous. To the left of me, there's just rock and cliff, and high hills, not mountains, but you know, really good stuff. And to the right, well, you can see. It's a beautiful road. That's it. The end of the road. Well, fans, I've done it again. Here we are. The sun's starting to go down, and we are now at the most westerly tip of mainland UK. This, of course, means that I've knocked off 3 of the cardinal points, starting with Ness Point, the most easterly, then Lizard Point, the most southerly, and now here, Ardnamurchan Point, the most westerly. That just leaves Dunnet Head, the most northerly. It's pretty good, huh? There we go, lads and lasses, that's as far west as I can get. Well, she's parked up. She's come from Lowestoft, from Ness Point, the most easterly point of mainland UK, where I started the journey. And now she's at Ardnamurchan Point, the most westerly point of mainland UK. How cool's that? Well, this is where I'm stopping tonight, and the view, because I've had to come away from Ardnamurchan Point as there's no overnight stays and no camping. It's nice and flat, and I've actually found a bit of 4G signal, so I can upload my video, I can WhatsApp people and so on. But look at that lovely, lovely surrounding. And there's very little traffic here because it doesn't go anywhere. Well, that's where I'm kipping tonight.